Friends in Christ, Pastor Brian here. I've been pondering the power of words recently. And some of that's been because we've been walking through the parables Jesus shared in the Gospel of Matthew these past weeks. Parables that talk about the power of the word of the gospel when sown. Parables about the power of small things to make big changes like a mustard seed and leaven. Now, words are powerful as well because they shape our view of things. They are what open us to see new viewpoints and ponder new thoughts, or they can close us, reinforce our own thinking, isolate us from change. Consider the power of the words and or. Now, as a people, I think that we operate much more comfortably in the world of or. And maybe it's because we're in the digital age where everything's binary, zeros and ones, that we are most comfortable seeing things through the lens of or. A word that reflects binary thinking. Something is good or it's bad. This place is the best or it's the worst. You're either right or you're wrong. And there seems to be no place for anything in between or nuanced when you're talking about or thinking. Now, as Christians who happen to be Lutheran, we're pretty comfortable living in the world of and. A word and a worldview that better captures, at least to my experience, the reality of the world and everything in it. As Christians who happen to be Lutheran, we understand that two seemingly contradictory things can exist within one person, one situation, one institution. We know the pleasure of sweet and salty that we find in salted caramels. We know of situations that are both good and bad. And we know the reality that we are both saint and sinner. That we have the capacity within us to do great good for others and to do them great harm. We believe that we need both law and gospel. And what this means is that we can see beyond false dichotomies and grapple with the sometimes confusing ideas that some people who do really good things can also do some really bad things. And we recognize this because we see that reality in ourselves. We can see beyond a false choice between two things and use the word and to get us to see that we don't have to choose between the two, but see the complex wholeness of something. Small example. In 1997, Iowa introduced the town and country license plates, a design that was replaced in 2018 by city and country. Now, it expresses the reality of Iowa that we are both city and country. Almost 85% of the state is farmland, and we have 11 cities over 50,000 people. We know that Iowa is the number one producer of corn and that 63% of the state's population live in census-defined urban cores in cities. Now, the law of or would say that only one of those areas can thrive and that they do so at the expense of the other. You are either for city or country. But why can't it be city and country? Why can't we find the ways in which we can help cities thrive and find the ways in which we can help the country thrive as well? And if those two things describe the reality of Iowa, then why wouldn't we want to do everything we can to help both grow, to use the promise of and rather than the division of or? Now, that's not to say that there aren't or choices, that there aren't clearly times when we need to be for or against something, that there aren't times when we stand firm on what is right and what is wrong. But aside from those foundational things, I would advise us to be careful and lean on and, because words have power. The power of and lies in the very fact that it is additive. It assumes that the world is not a zero-sum game, but rather an infinitely expanding pie, and helps us to see that rarely are we as humans all one thing or another. There's no one who is totally saint or hopelessly sinner and leaves us open to grace, to mercy, to forgiveness, and to relationship with others, something that God is always calling us to. And so I invite us to wield the power of "and" in our lives more frequently. And let's see where that takes us. God's blessings.